What is up, you guys? Welcome to season 2 of the Lab Girl Circle. It's your girl, Shanika. You guys know my name. I am back with season 2 of the Lab Girl Circle. So, before we get into this episode, I just want to say welcome back. I'll try to be as quick as possible because it's still early over here on the West Coast. So I don't want to be screaming because I'm super, super, super excited to be back, you guys. But welcome back to season 2. It is the Lab Girl Circle. It is your girl, the Lab Girl. Let me just tell you guys that I am so happy to be back with you guys. Um, let's first start off by saying if you guys can hear me, let me know in the chat that you guys can hear me because it's been a long time. It's been a few months. I took a break, but I was always still active. So, you guys, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, being a part of the gang, for continuing to reach out to me to support the channel because we're doing big things over here, right? So, kudos to you guys for still being a part of the gang. Kudos to you guys for joining me today because you definitely don't want to miss this episode. This is the season premiere of the Lab Girl Circle, formerly known as Tech Talk. So first, let me just say hi to you guys in the chat. We'll definitely get to you guys as far as the chat. What's up? Girl, thank you for joining me. It's probably your first time joining, so thank you so much. Okay, so the first thing is let's just talk about the name change. You guys, season 1 was great. Tech Talk was everything that I could have imagined it to be. I ended it with the bang. You guys know I appreciate all my guests and all you guys showing up for Tech Talk. But the reason why I changed to the Lab Girl Circle is because I was seeing some other people using the name Tech Talk, like whether it came to like their shows or just say in general, just say for actual techs. Or I was hearing a lot of tech talk, thrown around for histology stuff. So I felt some type of way. So I had to rebrand myself. And of course, I am the owner and I am a walking brand of the Lab Girl Circle. So I thought it was only fitting for me just to go ahead because I own my name. Why not make everything cohesive? So you guys can follow me on the Lab Girl Circle on Instagram. And of course, this will now be called the Lab Girl Circle podcast because I own this name. So it was only right that I change everything to be uniform. So forgive me, you still hear me call things Tech Talk because that was my baby. I birthed that. But we are now the Lab Girl Circle. That is out the way. I want to say, let me talk about the reason why I created the Lab Girl Circle. And that was because you can be heard. The Lab Girl Circle is not only my testimony, but it is your testimony. I want to know what was your experience in school? How did you study for the ASCP? What were your obstacles you currently face? What were your obstacles that you faced while you were studying or while you were on this journey? Or what obstacles are you currently facing as a histotech in your lab today? How was your experience in school? How did you hear about histology? All those things that sometimes we don't take the time to really ask another fellow student, histologist, or anyone who started out in histology but now have went to become a lead or now are, working on the vendor side or now, are doing other things and not just general histology. So, or if you're looking to get into histology, that is the reason why I created this channel. I would love to hear your story. I would love to hear from you guys because we just never know what we'll learn. So if you guys want to be a part of the show, then you guys know how to hit me up. Again, it's going to be the labgirlcircle@gmail.com. That's how you will hit me up if you would like to be a part of the Lab Girl Circle. Now, we have a special guest coming to be a part of the show. I'm super excited. This person actually reached out to me and wanted to actually be a part of the show. I really appreciate when you guys actually, one, have the courage, because this is not something that is a part of everyone's everyday life, being on camera or being on YouTube. So it goes both ways. I would love to reach out to every single one of you guys to have you guys on my show, but I think the more people who actually are a part of the Lab Girl Circle, it makes everyone a little bit more comfortable being on social media and being a part of something, that you can be transparent on my channel. You can be transparent on my show. This is a learning resource for all of you guys. And like my guest Dane said, he said, hey, this is more tools for your toolbox, right? This is more things that you can add, more tools you can add to the toolbox. So we are always wanting to add more things to the toolbox, whether it's knowledge, whether it's just some support, just that everyday support, somewhere you can come and actually like just ask your everyday questions, get advice, get tips, get tricks, just not just always, just somewhere you can come be lighthearted. So today I am super excited to start the Lab Girl podcast, season 2 off with my guest, Rose. If you guys have a question for Rose, please feel free to drop it down in the comment section down below. And then throughout the show, I'll definitely be popping up some questions and comments, and then we can actually take your comments in the end. If you're on the replay gang, you guys already know what to do. You can do replay gang, or you can watch this and share this with other fellow histotechs or anyone, in the lab, or anyone you think who would benefit from the show. All right. With all that being said, let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Rose. So we can go ahead and get to know Rose, because I'm ready to probably ask her everything that you guys want to know if you are on the same journey. So let me go ahead and bring her on.
Hello, everybody. Greetings.
Hi, Rose. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. Welcome to the Lab Girl Circle. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of my show. I'm super excited to get to know you, and I'm pretty sure that everyone who will be joining, they'll probably have questions for you as well. So I'm super excited because, one, this is a season premiere of the Lab Girl Circle. I'm so dramatic, and you know that, but I am super excited because it's a season premiere, and you are a part of the season premiere.
Well,
So,
I am honored to be just a part of that.
welcome. I'll mail you an award, and you can hang it on your bookshelf.
I'll put it right up there next to Captain America.
Right. All right, Rose. So before we get into everything, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in histology.
Great. Well, I've been working in histology for over 10 years now. I've worked in grossing, routine histology, special stains, and IHC. I've worked in automated labs and manual labs. And I've been the safety coach for years and learned how to add safety in the culture of the lab.
Cool. So we'll definitely touch bases on IHC. We'll touch bases on safety officer, because I'm a fellow safety officer as well. So we'll definitely touch on that. But first, before we get started with everything, if you can tell the channel, how did you discover the Lab Girl Circle?
The Lab Girl Circle. I was searching online for information, and some of the information that I find from some major websites, they do have a little bit of information, but they turn out to be more selling a product to help you and not really focusing on techniques and basic knowledge that you would want, like a senior tech, to really take you under their wing and help guide you during the histology journey. And when I found your channel, that's exactly what I found. I found somebody with a wealth of knowledge that wanted to share that knowledge, not hoard it, and wanted to help guide people in this field that we have.
Cool. Thank you. Well, the first thing is I really appreciate it, because that's the reason why I created this, so we can actually not just hold on to everything and think, the way that we do things is the only right way. Or I just want to make sure we have like a safe space for students, and sometimes a lot of senior techs, they really are not open to change. So maybe this can be an avenue of, so they can see exactly like, there's, it's okay for the lab to go through changes, or it's okay for, maybe we don't know everything, is like the knowledge that they do have, we're still learning, we're still growing. And while I'm speaking on that, how long have you been a histotech?
Let's see. I've been a histotech for 12 years now.
Okay, I think I'm coming up on 7, 8, 9. I think I'm like at year 8. I always forget. I think I'm like at year 8. Does it feel longer to you?
It feels so much longer.
I know, I know.
Yeah, it feels so
That's so
much
long.
longer.
That's why I'm forgetting. Um, let me ask you a question. So, whenever you before you became a histotech, were you did you have a whole nother career, or did you go to histology school?
Oh, that's actually a really great story. I had my associates in biology,
Hmm.
and I was looking for a job, and I was working in a small hospital as a lab assistant and phlebotomist.
Okay.
I found MTs, and they said this is a good career, but I don't think that you're going to be happy in it. And so
Hmm.
I actually stumbled into the histology room, and I fell in love with it. And I thought, wow, you can help out with autopsies. This is for me. And
Right.
so I was really excited, but unfortunately, the facility did not have the availability to teach me on the job,
Okay.
and going to a school was not happening. So I had little forward movement in that hospital, and I decided to go into engineering.
Oh.
Um, I was doing civil, geotechnical, and some environmental engineering, and that was great. Got a lot of experience doing that, but
Hmm.
I had a injury that was pretty major, and it found me in the hospital, and I had to learn how to walk again.
Oh,
And
I'm
while I was
sorry.
learning how to walk again, I figured, well, I can't do field work anymore. What about histology?
Hmm.
So I relocated to a place that did have a school, and I went to university. And I got my bachelor's while studying for the exam and taking the program.
Oh, wow. What an amazing story. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm sorry about, your accident. I hope you're doing
Oh,
better.
thank you.
Um, you're welcome. And as far as like histology, okay, so you mentioned autopsy. Currently I do autopsy brains. I actually like cut them and stain them for our immunohistochemistry and things of that nature. So, have you ever worked in the morgue?
Yeah, I have helped with this, that, and the other, but
Mhm.
not being a diener per se,
Okay.
or somebody that really helps the pathologist really slice and dice everything and get it in order for analysis.
Oh,
I haven't done that because I found out it is actually pretty labor intensive. However,
really?
I do still love the work.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Or let me just tell you a story. One day I was at work, and I was working with this girl in Nevada, and she was telling me that she wanted to get a job or no, she's telling me that she used to work in the morgue,
Mhm.
and she used to massage the dead bodies. Is that an actual job? Is that an actual job?
If it is, I'm not aware of it,
Okay.
although I wouldn't be surprised, when rigor starts to set in, sometimes it can be very difficult to get a sample of something very particular that the pathologist wants.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wouldn't be surprised about massaging something that's been set in rigor to help ease it. In fact, I have, unfortunately, when I was working in the hospital, somebody had a needle stick from a DOA,
Mm-hmm.
dead on arrival, and we had the body in the morgue, and they needed to draw a blood sample to make sure that the person who got stuck wasn't going to be facing a battle of liver destroying medications.
Right.
So we needed to get a sample, and they were manipulating the body because the blood was coagulating. We
Wow.
needed to get blood from a source that was still semi warm and not disrupted so we could run samples on it.
Wow. So I can talk autopsy all day. I was just because it takes a brave person. So, do you watch a lot of CSI?
Yeah, I do on the side. I do on the
Okay.
side.
Okay.
When I've worked with a lot of people that are just not comfortable with that side of histology,
Mhm.
and I respect that. A lot of people aren't comfortable for a variety of reasons, and every single one of those reasons is valid.
Mhm.
I don't think that that should stray somebody from doing histology at all. There are plenty of other things to do without having to be even around the morgue as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So, going back to histology, um, how was your first day as a histotech? Whenever, if we want to think back, how was your for all the new people, especially all the students? They have a lot of
Mhm.
questions. How is it? How's the jobs? How's the pay? What would you say? Let me go back another question first. When you were looking for your first histology job, what was most important to you? Was it the pay, or was it you just getting into the field? Like, or were they equal to you?
I interviewed for two different local areas,
Okay.
and one was a bit further away. And one of the places I interviewed for didn't require technicians to have a certification.
Okay.
And to me, that was a big red flag. I wanted somebody who was working on my tissue, who was working on my family's tissue, to be certified at the things that they were doing. And
Mhm.
different regulatory agencies require different things, and that's perfectly acceptable within your lab.
Mhm.
The lab I ended up going for was the one I interned at, and it was closer to my relocation area.
Okay.
Um, and that one allowed me to go straight into IHC and special stains. I
Okay.
didn't have to do grossing. I didn't have to do accessioning. I didn't have to do routine histology. I didn't have to do any admin work. I was going straight into the specialized area.
Hmm.
And that is not common at that
It's not.
time.
Okay.
So I was really excited to get that experience under my belt, and I am incredibly grateful for that experience.
Yeah, the fact that you touched on that, that was going to be another one of my questions, because the fact that you were able just to skip, like, of course, like the gross and everything, but just to go straight to IHC, normally, or currently, as what I see in the past couple of labs I worked at, you literally have to be in general histology first sometime, just so you can get the basics down and then go straight over to IHC. How was that for you? Because at this point, you really may not understand maybe the level that you're at, as far as like going straight into IHC. And I know a lot of new histotechs, they first need to know the general, like the H&E, and then after that's ran, that's when the pathologists look for further studies. So if you could explain what would be the difference between working in general histology and now are at the IHC level.
I was basically, for my career, I jumped into the deep end instead
Mhm.
of wading into the shallow end.
Mhm.
I jumped into an area that was highly specialized
Mhm.
and very small. And I didn't understand all the other processes that came before IHC. So I was strong in one area, but I was very weak going up to that.
Wow.
I would not recommend that for most people. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying
Mhm.
I think a more well rounded experience makes a better tech and gives a patient a better experience.
I definitely agree. I love how you've been like so transparent right now,
Mhm.
because sometimes we can always, whenever we're going into jobs, it's like, we have these levels, right? And like sometimes I feel like we're always trying to reach that highest level. We're trying to reach that highest level. And even at my current I work in neuropath. So it's the level of, I just sometimes I think like, wow, like general histology has it made some days, because I am at a very like specialized field. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just sort of like, but I worked in general histology. I've cut some IHC slides before. Never really been full IHC. Don't really know how to do like the bonds, but I did the Vantanas like earlier in my career. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's sort of like I feel like I skipped that middle section and then went to level 3. So maybe one day in my life I can actually go back to the middle section and learn a little bit more about IHC, because I really don't know a lot about it unless I was like helping out. But I'm glad that you touched on that, because, like I said before, we're always trying to get to the next level, get to the next level. And
Mm-hmm.
speaking of that, you were a lead before. Now, do you think that whenever you became a lead, like, do you think that you working at IHC and your previous, like, you jumping so far into the deep end, do you think that prepared you to be a lead, or were you um open and saying, you know what, hey, like I may need some areas I still need help on, or how was that for you?
For me, it was a unique experience. I was working second shift, so I was transferring from the morning shift into the evening shift in IHC.
Okay.
So my job was to get everything and oversee everything to make sure that everybody had the tools they needed to get their job done.
Hmm.
And that's what I was doing. And it was definitely a learning experience for me because there was so much that I needed to be aware of. I
Hmm.
needed to know why were the Vantanas going off and problem solve that so that the
Right.
other techs didn't have to leave and get off the bench while they're cutting.
Okay.
Um, so it was very important for me to also learn how to approach my coworkers that might
Hmm.
have 20 plus experience on me and tell them perhaps there was a different way that they could do something
Right.
without being offending to them at all.
Right. Oh yeah, I definitely, it's sometimes it's your tone that definitely
Mhm.
can be. It's not about, oh, she thinks she knows more, or even sometimes a lot of people can, like you said, it's a way of getting it across without maybe sounding as if like they don't know what they're doing, or like they haven't been doing this since we were probably little.
Right.
So right. So did you have to read any like books or anything on what made you apply for the lead position? Because do you think that, did you look at yourself as being qualified, or was it just like a chance that you took and then like it ended up working out for you?
I was offered the position without thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at a corporate hospital where one of the unwritten rules is do not pass up an opportunity that is in front of you. The
Okay.
opportunity was given to me as a great opportunity to go ahead and learn more to expand myself in my career. There was a lot of reading I did, but one of the most helpful books I read was um, Difficult Conversations, and that was it, and still is a book that I recommend at all times.
Okay.
And one of the first things that you need to do is not be a storyteller.
Mm.
To always go forward and come to a situation with a clear mind. You don't know why somebody is doing something. I can assume 101 reasons, and all of them can be incorrect. So going in without any attitude on my end, without any assumptions on my end,
Hmm.
that would be incredibly helpful.
What a great thing to tell us. I actually just put the book, because I would love to listen to that, because I am a person who probably think things and I maybe say things what I think. And I think that how can I put it? I feel like a lot of maybe a lot of individuals, sometimes you can tell that you can say it in a way to where it may be correct, or maybe you took it easier, you think you may have said things the right way, but it's sometimes too how people interpret things. And working with so many different types of techs in the lab, or so many different people, even levels of people, whether it's a doctor or your supervisor, or a lab tech, it just also too determines how they interpret things. So, do you find yourself, as far as like in your lab, being a lead, how were you able to resolve conflict in the lab? Because these are all things that, as a histotech and us being techs, we see management and we think we have the answers, or how we could have done this, or how we would have handled this, and what I would have done. But like, because you had that role, how do you think that you were able to get everyone on the same page and keep the morale of the team good?
Mhm. I try to make sure that everybody is heard. It's very similar to customer service. 90% of that is that
Hmm.
when people have disagreements, they want to make sure that they're heard.
Hmm.
So I try to repeat back in my own words what I think they said. And I
Okay.
never say, you said this. What I
Mm,
say is, what I understand you coming from is this.
okay.
There is a lot of misinterpretation between the message that's in my head, the message that I speak, the message that is received.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of that. So a lot of things that I say is I feel, I see, and I think that this is happening. A lot of times it's over particular procedures. And even if I know that a procedure will not work, as long as it isn't violating a patient being treated, I will say, you know what? I don't know if this will work, but let's give it a try. And a lot
Okay.
of times I am shown wrong. It can be the right way to do something. It could be a better way to do something. Or we can find out through results and no monkey wrenching, whereas nobody's trying to foul up the results here.
Right.
That maybe it doesn't work, or maybe it's one way that we can try but tweak it a little bit. And that's
Gotcha.
really cooperation. People need to feel like they are heard and
Hmm.
that they are valued. And that's really one major thing that I've learned from leadership is that we can try things even
Hmm.
if I don't think that they'll work.
Yeah, what a great answer. I really like to, I wanted to ask you that because, like I said, you see things happening in the lab, or you see, team morale is not at its best, or, changes, or, and some days we have our good days. If it's really
Mhm,
busy or if it's really slow, there's just so many different emotions. And I think a lot of people who are not in our field would not even think that the lab can go through so many roller coasters. And sometimes patient care, we want to always keep that first.
mhm,
But when there's so much different emotions and personalities, and you're handling patient care while still trying to be professional and still try to just survive the day. So that's just like a
exactly.
real true emotion. um that I would love to tell like all students. Like, I always tell them, like, show up like it's your first day, because
Mhm,
every day will be different, which sounds so cliche, I know. But like, how are you going to handle that day? Because every day is going to come with each, with its own problems, or you just may have those great days. So how are you going to handle that day and treat every day like it's your first day? Because remember that feeling when it was your first day and how excited you was. And not saying you're going to be excited every single day, but like how excited you was. And sometimes even me, I need people to reel me back in and just be like, okay, Shanika, like, just think about this, or, just look at it this way. And I'm just like, you know what? I need that voice of reasoning. We
mhm,
all need that. So you're right. Sometimes we just need to be heard.
right.
Right.
I love that you say that treat every day. And to springboard off of that, I'd like to say that a lot of these days become automatic the longer you're in here. So if
Hmm.
I take a moment and think about my intention for the day, what is my
Right.
intention in the lab? What is my number one goal? What are the things that I'm going to keep forward and foremost while taking care of all these other tasks? So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. Good idea. Good point. Okay, let me go back to your studying days. All right. So, what was your most difficult chapter whenever you were studying for the test?
Stains,
Yeah.
hands down,
Hands
stains.
down, stains. What was your method? Like, what was your method for studying? I love to ask this question because I
Mhm,
didn't have a method. I didn't know what I was studying, what I was doing, what I was saying. I'm so
mhm,
like, just like, look, do better than me, okay? I had to literally put the book down, picked the book back up, and me and Frida had to have a talk. So how did
Right.
you, how did you figure out like how you were going to study? Like, how was that for you?
So I was reading Frida Carson's text, and I
Hmm.
knew that that was going to be one of the most important texts because Frida Carson was on the board when they
Hmm.
were creating the exam for the ASCP.
Right.
So I knew that was going to be my Bible, but there were a lot of things that I found very difficult to wrap my head around. So I actually looked to the Bancroft text. The
Okay.
Bancroft text is actually the theory and practice of histology, and that came to histology more from a layman's perspective, and it broke things down for me, and it was incredibly helpful. So I put down the Frida Carson text, I
Okay.
picked up the Bancroft text, and I read over it, and things started to sound more clear to me.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to the Frida Carson flashcards, or the Histotech, which is
Okay.
unfortunately out of print. So if anybody can get their hands on a set, I would highly recommend. Um,
I think I got a set.
yes, yes,
I
it's
think
so
I
good.
do. Let me make sure I didn't toss them out in the street or something when I pass by.
I passed.
I,
Woo.
I passed. Bye bye. I'll check and see if
But
I still have mine though.
yeah, and that was incredibly helpful. So I really just hit those flashcards very hard, and
Okay.
then I went to the BOC exam question book.
Okay.
That has questions that are not exact, but very similar in language and content on what you will find on the ASCP exam.
Okay.
It has multiple questions similar to what you will find, and it has answers and where they came up with the answer. Because a lot of times, two of the answers seem very similar, and
They
sometimes they're
do.
hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
So they will tell you what the difference is. And I actually recorded myself reading from the flashcards the difficult areas there
Oh,
and the difficult areas from the BOC book. And I played it over and over and over in my headphones. I was cleaning, I was commuting, driving to and from.
that's a good idea.
Anytime I wasn't paying attention to patient tissue, I had an earphone in, and I hate the sound of my own voice, but I listened to it over and over again, and it started to sink in, and it was incredibly helpful. And then when I went back to take the exam, I felt a lot more confident, and things made a lot more sense to me.
You know what? That's actually a good idea. I know me. Well, first of all, I have the book here. The first book I had was like the purple book, and it was like maybe like the BOC like second edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one it just gave you the answers.
Right.
But this one right here that I got,
Mhm.
this one actually explains the reasons why your answer is correct. And you're
Right.
right. When you're taking the BOC, you get to the point to where like two of those answers look really good. Like I think that's every multiple test that these days. But and I'm not a great test taker, but
Mhm.
you have to sort of distinguish. Okay, like what really makes sense. And I think that's a good idea. Like I really didn't even think about okay, like Bancroft and then Frida, and then that's actually a great idea that you did.
Mhm.
I've never heard that before, so that's definitely something that in my future videos I will recommend to the students whenever they're studying for the ASCP, because I literally had to break the whole book down and write my own flashcards and really just go through the book and just see exactly like if I had to answer this question, like what would be the answer, but I needed to know why that was the answer and not just trying to remember an answer to a question. Um,
Exactly.
did you pass the test on your first time?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I did not, no, and I'm proud to say that because I think it's very important for people who are perfectionists, like I tag myself,
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay to fail.
Definitely.
It is okay.
Mm-hmm.
We are given more than one chance to take the exam for a reason.
Right.
Um, I it was definitely an ego blow, and I
Mm-hmm.
went back and I took the required time to study,
Mm-hmm.
to breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and when I went back in, I
You
passed.
passed it. Yeah, I definitely I love, to hear, you know, not the fact that you didn't pass, but I love to
Mhm.
hear the fact because that was me too. And I think that's what make our story so great because it's like, you're going to be around people who passes it the first time and then they're on their way to, the lab and they're doing this. I mean, I had to literally watch myself go into a slump and just be like, man, like why didn't I pass? Or like, I don't understand it, or I'm never going to be a histotech, or oh my God, it's so hard. And I'm not a great test taker. And I just feel like, that drive that I had to like change my life is so like, okay, like Shanika, like how can I pass this test? It actually made me work harder.
Mhm.
So I definitely like, but it's a bummer. It's like a shot to your, to your ego, to yourself, to like, because no one wants to fail. I know, but if we really truly
No.
think about it, that's not really the only way you're going to succeed.
Mhm.
By failing, because it shows you a different method too, a different way to look at things, and just there's more. What is it? More than one way to skin a cat.
Exactly.
I'm so southern. Like I'll just say, there's only one. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and I think I skinned it like eight times. So,
Mhm.
all right. So you didn't pass the test, but you went back and you passed it, which is great. Congrats. 12 years
Thank
later,
you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, okay, I do want to ask you. Whenever you were studying, for your test, did you literally like just shut everything out, everyone out, and just go into like focus zone? Because, or did you tell everyone you was taking the test? Because I always tell people like, and I only learn from myself because I see the pressure. And I know it's kind of crazy, but like I'm the type of person where I keep things very quiet. So
Mhm.
um I always say my suggestion is if you're going to take the test, like not don't tell anyone, but like just try to keep it under wraps, because once again, for those who are not really good with failing, you made this all this hype because everyone's like, oh, you got this, you're smart, you're gonna do it, and then when you fail, you're sort of like, dang, like I have to tell people I didn't pass. So would you agree with me when I say, hey, keep it low key, and then come to wherever you like, hey, boom, I passed? Or how did you do it? Did you keep it low key and then you told everyone you passed, or how did that work for you?
That's exactly what I did. I kept it low key. I didn't tell a lot of people. The only people I told were those closest to me in my inner
Mhm.
circle.
Yeah.
I took the test on a Saturday. I was set to schedule on Friday. My supervisor knew that I was going for the test again,
Right.
and she actually gave me the day off so I could
Okay.
just study. And I took, I would say, 18 hours, and all I did was drill everything into my head. I had a close personal friend drill me on the flashcards, whip out the BOC book, and we just went over things over and over and over again. It's funny because that friend had difficulty pronouncing everything, especially in 9C,
That must
but I
was
knew what
I
they were
that
saying.
friend? It must have been me because I was in histology and I still couldn't pronounce like half of the things.
Yeah, so I was definitely studying hard, and that last day right before I sat for the exam really gave me the confidence that I needed walking in.
Good, good. Okay, now I want to circle back real quick to whenever you was a lead. Okay,
Mhm.
real quick. I'm gonna just circle back real quick.
Sure.
Okay, so whenever you was a lead, I'm pretty sure you had interviews.
Mhm.
For hiring purposes. What would be the key thing that you would look for whenever you're going to hire a candidate?
I have a secret weapon now,
Ooh, okay. Can you
because
tell us?
anybody I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
So I come up with one technical question.
Okay.
Anybody can say that they've passed the exam, anybody can say
Mhm.
that they've done this, that, or the other, but actually having the knowledge for what you need
Okay.
is important, and having it right there, that's what I can tell in an interview, because as the saying goes, anybody can pass the short interview.
Right.
So I come up with a technical question, and my technical question is actually very simple. If you're taking off a cover slip, and you have taking a cover slip off of an H&E slide, and
Okay.
you're running it down from xylene to alcohol, and you get it to water and you have a milky substance. What went wrong and how do you do to correct it?
Okay. You want me to answer?
No, I'm just saying, like,
No, I
that's it.
want to. No, I want
Well,
to
but if you
answer
want to answer, that's great.
because I may be wrong. Okay.
No,
Well, I'm thinking that there's still alcohol in the Well, there wasn't good clearing.
exactly.
Let me just
It
say that.
wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't good clearing. Something washed into something else. It wasn't a
Hmm.
fresh reagent. Bring it back to xylene. Start with exactly fresh reagents and do it again.
Right, and do it again. Because while you're running it backwards, maybe you say you was dipping it or whatever, and then you just didn't take that time to actually like bang, 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 whatever. Is that the sound
Hmm.
of the metal rack? Bang, bang, bang. And then you go
Right.
back, So there's probably some, yeah, you're probably transferring or carrying over. Yeah. So if that's the only question, I'm hired then. So you got room for me? No,
Well, and that evolved because I actually did have a tech in the lab who
hmm.
came across this problem and didn't know how to solve it. And I thought, okay, well, moving forward, uh,
Mm,
this is somebody that only had so much training
right,
and they had were only been working in a particular area of the hospital, and this is not something that they encountered.
right.
They were working in a lab where every single step was so monitored, they weren't given the freedom to fail,
Mm,
and so they
that's a
never
great
learned.
point. Mhm.
So it wasn't the tech's problem, it wasn't their
Right.
fault to
Their
say,
fault. Yeah.
but they had a lot of learning to do because they had never been given the freedom in the lab to do X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah, I think
so,
that's a great point.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that moving forward, we were like, okay, here are some deficits that we have. Here are
Mhm.
some challenges that I want you to feel confident in because I want to be able to trust you doing X, Y, and Z in the lab. So
Yeah.
moving forward, this is what we're going to do. No
Yeah.
harm, no foul. We're just going to move forward with this.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with you because I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier. A lot of people, whenever they start and just say they've worked in XYZ lab, sometimes companies can think they know, it could be like the smallest things that they probably wasn't even used to, right? So
Hmm.
you'll hear, oh, they know how to do, oh, they've done special things before, they know how to do it, or oh, oh, I'm pretty, oh, they're going to be good. They're going, but it's like, I understand, like we wish we I know we want everyone to be great and everyone's going to eventually get to the point to where they won't need that training anymore, but
Hmm.
sometimes like it's just take that time and just say, hey, what do you feel comfortable with? Because sometimes you'll encounter where a person may not feel comfortable on just the basic things.
Hmm.
And like you said, a lot of people may not have to soak off a cover slip. I know with the glass cover slips, we have to use the acetone,
Hmm.
or the xylene acetone mix, or just sometimes straight xylene. And then like my lead, he had put it in straight xylene, put it in the oven for a little bit. Like I have never done that before because it was taking so long for the glass. Why did I tell you to soak off the cover slip so we could destain it? So we could
Yeah.
destain it.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I put that right.
Yeah.
Destain.
I think flammable and heat, and
Okay,
I've seen a
I
fire
know.
start in a microwave. So
Let's go to and let's transition to fire safety. Because guess what? You want to hear a horror story that just happened to me like a week ago?
all day.
And I'm a fire safety officer. Okay,
Yes.
fire safety. If you guys are listening, okay, real quick, drop your questions down below for Rose. If you have questions about histology, about studying, about fire safety, about being a lead, IHC, she's the queen. She went directly into it with no baby steps. Okay, you guys can definitely leave her a question down below. Thank you guys for being here and joining the gang. Okay, so let me tell you what happened to me. Don't even know why I'm repeating this. So I hope this is the last time I have to say it because like I made a boo boo. So I use formic acid for antigen retrieval
Hmm.
for a stain. For this particular reason, I don't know why. You know, the smell of formic acid is very vinegary, and then sometimes it can
Yes.
take your breath away.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular reason, I do not know why. I'm pouring the formic acid underneath the hood, and it was like this. It was like low like this, like not much in there in the bottle. So I do not know why I was. It was like the end of the day. I remember it was 6:15 p.m. I didn't even know the time because it's just I could have died. So I was doing the formic acid. I'm like, wait a minute, is there anything inside of here? It does, Shanika. Like, there's formic acid in there, but for some reason, I went to go try to sniff it or in. I thought I freaked out for like 5 days because I thought that I was going to like just die. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sorry, you guys. I don't want to keep using the word die, but I thought I wasn't going to be here anymore. So, so I sniffed it or what, or I was going to inhale it, but I'm thankful that I didn't like take a deep breath. I think as soon as it hit my nostril, like I backed up and I went and got fresh air. And I was like, why did I do that? Have you ever just thought to yourself, like, what in the world are you thinking? You have never done that. So one of my coworkers is like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I just inhaled formic acid." He looks at me, he says, "Aren't you the safety officer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "No," he was like, "What type of safety officer are you?" I was like, "I know, right?" I was like, "I'll never do that again." So, as a safety officer, have you ever just like did anything like crazy? And you're thinking like, or what was the craziest thing you're seeing as being a safety officer in the lab?
The craziest thing I've seen is normally when there is a near miss or a type of incident, we like to record it. And
Okay.
we like to have the people that were involved write the direct account of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because we later go back and review those to make sure that is there something that isn't in our procedure that we need to have to protect people in the future.
Right.
In this one incident, the person was very embarrassed about spilling formaldehyde
Okay.
or formalin in the lab. Okay.
Okay.
And it was a large spill.
Okay.
And we took it upon ourselves to go, well, wait a minute. Why were you handling this huge amount in the first place? Why weren't we
Right.
transferring it? Why weren't we doing this? What kind of safety implement do we need to have? And we read over the firsthand account, and it was the jug was heavy, it slipped, it went boop, and it fell.
It went boop.
It went boop. BOP. It went boop. And we are in a room of 50 safety officers for
Mm,
the whole laboratory, the core lab,
mm.
histology, cytology, micro, everybody's there. And they
Right.
look at me and they went, so it went boop? And I said, yes, it did go boop.
It went boop.
It went boop. So now we learned that when you're giving firsthand accounts, there is a way and there is not a way to give a firsthand account.
Mm.
Um, and it is very embarrassing because it's like, oh man, this happened to me, and oh,
Right.
everybody's going to be looking at this and they're going to think I'm silly. They're going to
Right.
think that I don't belong in the lab because something this simple happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that should never be your thought.
Right.
Anything that happens should be, and I hate using this phrase, but a learning
I'm learning.
experience.
Right. I knew you was gonna say
Okay.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to, be a lifeguard safety, like deck supervisor, and
Mm-hmm.
whenever we had an incident where somebody had to jump in the water for a rescue, we would always have safety debriefings, and
Okay.
in those safety debriefings, the first rule was we never assign blame
Right.
ever.
Never. Yeah.
Never assign blame. What we do is we objectively recount what you saw.
Oh, okay.
We look at what actually happened and what we could do to prevent that in the future.
Right.
And I think that first rule has not transferred to all areas of our lab. And that
Oh,
is something that I carry with me. Do not assign blame,
right.
because people will have internal feelings about it and they won't be
Mhm.
forthcoming. And that's not
Yeah, that's the
the
thing. That's not
culture
what
that
we
I
want.
want to be a part of.
Right. Yeah, that's not the culture. That's actually a good point. Well, after that happened, like my company definitely did the same thing to me. Like they set me down. We had a meeting. What
Mhm.
what I could have done better the next time. It's actually a learning tool because it helps to see exactly like how that actually could have helped happen to anyone.
It could.
Someone could just pick up a bottle and it says something, but it looks clear, and just say for instance they're like, oh, maybe I can reuse this jug or whatever, and then they smell it, like, and I'm not saying like I should have known, but I'm glad that they actually took it like, what, Shanika, like, it could happen, like it's fine. I just like, and I just kept blaming myself, like why would I do something crazy like that? And they're just like, no, it's, we just want to make sure that you're okay, you're not having any type of adverse effects or anything,
Mhm.
like you're doing good. If you need to see anyone,
Mhm.
very caring. And I think that's what that made me feel a lot better about the situation, honestly, not just like
Right.
I'm being looked at like, oh, how could you as a safety officer? Like my friend said that, which is funny. But and then after a while I sort of like made joke of myself, because I'm just like, because that's how I got over, like, okay guys, I'm good. Everyone checked on me like throughout the week, so it was like very comforting to know, like, I learned from that. Like I would never do it again. And I think as a safety officer, and I'm doing the safety tours, and for the new hires and everything, it's sort of like, it's really important, because you don't really know how important actually a safety tour is until you actually probably are a safety officer. Like, what do you think about being a safety officer? Because I know now I look just like in my own home or just like around my buildings, like I'm like, where's the fire extinguisher? Like just in case, like it makes me be a little bit on guard, because you just want to make sure that you are taking all safety precautions. Like,
Mhm.
are you still currently a safety officer at, right now, or, that's just something that you did for like a little while in your career?
That was something I did at the larger hospital. Now that I
Hmm.
work at a private institution, I'm not formally a safety officer. But one of the big things I took away was, just because you are a safety coach doesn't mean somebody else can help coach as well.
Right.
And I felt like empowering my coworkers to
Hmm.
approach another person when you see an unsafe event
Yeah.
is very important. Everybody should
Definitely.
be empowered to do that. And
Definitely.
learning how to approach people in a
Hmm.
non-confrontational way,
Hmm.
and offering education
Right.
and doing it in a very neutral tone is
Right.
very important. And making sure that you have, um, that you aren't unnecessarily perceived as bullying or pointing
Hmm.
somebody out,
Hmm.
because there can be bullying activities that are perceived across different cultural lines without
Right.
even meaning to do it.
Oh
So,
yeah.
doing all these things and empowering others is
Hmm.
something I have carried on with me. And I
Hmm.
do see things and I do say, "Oh, hey, did you forget your safety shoes today? Because I see that you're wearing this." "Oh, I
Right.
forgot." "Oh, okay. Well, you remind me and I'll remind you," and we move on.
What a great way to what a great way to put that. I just know the other, and like just say you see someone like, out of dress code, or
Mhm,
just say, or you see something and like the sharps container and things of that nature. Like I just say, hey, just a friendly, I'll send out an email, just a friendly reminder. Um, just make sure that the sharps container is not like, I seen the glove in the trash can, or I seen the, it's just a way to do things, because one, like, your day sometimes can be so busy, or you're trying to just get through your day, and take care of the actual
mhm,
patient. To some, we're not going to always remember every single thing, so just to put out those reminders, because we're all accountable for each and every, for ourselves and everyone in the lab. It's not just like we are the safety officers, so this, we're only going to do this. Like, you're
mhm,
right, it takes all of us to be on the same page. So, because I may not get to something, if you smell smoke, then like I tell them, you could pull the fire alarm, So, or it doesn't just needs to be me to do it. Because what if
Right.
I'm on lunch or I'm on break? So you're right. If everyone is just on the same page, then things will go a little bit smoother.
Yeah. And when you say that somebody left gloves in there, like that touches on
Mhm.
storytelling. Don't assume that somebody's being lazy. You weren't
Right.
doing that. You weren't making up a story that they were doing it out of spite or
Right.
anything. Things happen. Things
Things
happen.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're things are life be life, and we
That is true.
you trying to go to the bathroom, you just boop boop boop. So just friendly reminder: make sure gloves go in the biohazard, or
Hmm.
just and that goes for everyone, so
Hmm.
across the board, not just pointing someone out. You're right.
Right.
I like how you did that, because you never know how that person is going to internalize it, or they feel like they're responsible for that email or responsible for that conversation, and you never want
Hmm.
anyone to walk away feeling a certain type of way,
Exactly.
if you could help it.
Hmm.
um Now, as far as my main question is, if you can give a pro and a con of being in histology, what would you tell our future audience listen to us? What Let's start with the con. What would be a con of not getting into the career of histology or the field?
I would say a con, something to be aware of is there are health hazards.
Hmm.
Do not be blind to that. We are working with hazardous chemicals. We are
Hmm.
working with things that are made to cut through skin and bone.
Hmm.
We are around chemicals all the time, and it is easy to become familiar with them. It's easy to become comfortable.
Right.
And like for you sniffing the chemical, um,
Right.
it sounds like you were at the end of a very long day.
I was
And
6:15. I got for 6:30.
exactly. And it sounds like you were like at the very end of a long day. You could have been at the end of a very long week,
Yeah, it
a
was.
very long shift. And so your brain was having decision fatigue. And so you were kind of like reverting back to before your formal laboratory training
You know
where
what? I think you need to be my therapist. I'm gonna schedule a call with you, because you have a soothing voice to me.
I
Shanika,
try. I try.
it is not you. I'm like, you know what? It's not me. Okay, it's not me. It's my
It's not you, it's
brain.
something that happened to you.
Something that happened. I'm triggered, and now every day at 6:15, I get triggered. I literally
Right.
look at the clock. I'm like, okay, like I'm not doing with anything at six
Mhm.
fifteen. I wait till 6:17, and I'll finish cleaning up or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be
So
your.
that's definitely a con, and it's something to be aware of, and that's why we have questions on the exam so you can protect yourself. What is the exposure limit for this? Why should you be aware of sharp things at the grossing table? Why should
Mhm.
you always put the guard back up when you're not at the microtome? Things
Good
like
one.
this.
Okay.
And I would say the pro is I love being an effective tool for the pathologist to give the patient the best medical experience possible. And I don't have to interact with the patient.
Right.
I've been in the ER, I've been in NICU, I've been all over the hospital before, and I've seen a lot of things in the ER.
Hmm.
And it can definitely have a toll, especially post COVID.
Right.
Seeing
Right.
patients definitely has a toll, and it's not always safe for providers.
Right.
Sometimes you do have physical threats. So, this is the best way that I can provide for a patient completely objectively. I don't
Hmm.
know who they are, what they've done,
Right.
and I am still providing excellent care.
Good point. Good point. That was a good point. That was your pro?
That was my pro. Yeah.
That's good. I never heard that. Normally the pro is like pay. Um, I don't have to have patient face-to-face contact,
Mhm.
or patient, but I always say you may not have face-to-face, but you still got their specimens, so that they're still looking at you. So
Always,
yeah,
always,
you
because it's
still
not a
feel the same.
block, it's a patient.
It's a patient, but that's
It's
a
not
good
a
pro.
specimen, it's a patient.
Yeah, that's a really good pro. Now, as far as if anyone out there who, just say for instance, wants to get into histology, like what would you say, like what would you tell your, like earlier in your career, your early career self,
Mhm.
what type of advice would you give yourself, like now, at the years, that you're at now? Like what type of advice would you give yourself?
I would say be patient. It's all about quality, not
Hmm.
quantity.
Period.
And I would say learn everything possible. You said earlier there's more than one way to skin a cat, and you
Hmm.
are not wrong.
Thanks.
Techs do the same tasks all day, every
Hmm.
day, completely different ways.
Oh yeah.
Microtomy is wildly different from tech to tech.
Hmm.
And what works for you may not work for somebody else. What works for somebody else may be the exact ticket that you need so that you can provide better sections with no wrinkles and all
Hmm.
that good stuff. So I would learn everything, good and bad. I would walk
Hmm.
away learning something every day. I would learn how to be a more corporate professional in my
Hmm.
first job because I was younger and I was excited.
Hmm.
And a lot of my mannerisms were perceived as being unprofessional, not being able to sit still,
Oh,
unfocused, and things like that because I was working with people from a different generation.
gotcha.
And now, when I work with people that are a different generation from me, I go, okay, well, what preconceived notions am I applying here?
Hmm.
Have they been applied to me and I'm just a different person now? So I am very aware of learning different techniques and learning how to be a professional and learning how perception is everything.
Great point, Rose. Great point. And also too, that's growth.
Yes.
It's growth because I'm pretty sure the tech I was, 7, 8 years ago, I was just I really, how they say fake it till you make it or something, like
Yes.
like I was just literally like, I don't like that term really, like fake it
Mhm.
till you make it, but it's just one of those things, like whenever like you go into a situation, like I think I'm just like very like transparent and honest. Like if I don't understand something, I'm definitely going to ask a question. And
Mhm.
and a lot of times, because I come from a customer service background, so I think that question asking, it could be something that I've been doing for like a few years. Sometimes I just have a brain freeze and I can look and be like, wait a minute, I do know this answer, but could you just tell me one more time today? Like I just can't remember it. And
Mhm.
or taking accountability, that's another thing. Because things are tracked, and when it comes to the patient block, and
Mhm.
it's like sometimes let's just learn it's not the blame game, but let's just learn how to take accountability, and let's not be in our feelings about things. That's what I had to learn. And not saying I didn't have to learn it because it was me. I think I learned it through others.
Mhm.
When how I would see others react whenever,
Mhm.
just say they got spoken to, as they got spoken to about something, or just trying to get, just taking accountability of something, how their whole demeanor may change after like they just got told. Or even me, when I have to say, hey, like I may have to tell someone, hey, can you help out because we're kind of struggling over here, or just how sometimes the demeanors can change, or you can see their face go from here to there, or they have an issue with you just approaching them like, how dare you, I was in the middle of talking, or
Mhm.
and it's just like, I think a lot of me and a lot of things I've learned is based upon too, like what I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing and how I see things done like around me. And that's how I truly like learn, like how maybe I'm either going to respond to something, like how I'm going to conduct myself, or sometimes I think to myself like, I think people probably expect for me to probably like react to something a certain way, and then like I just like do the total opposite.
Exactly.
I like to keep them on their toes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
I feel I feel like sometimes, there's definitely a generational difference between, different coworkers, good
hmm.
and bad,
Hmm.
and, sometimes people do have a lot of expectations. They do that storytelling again, and
Right.
they make assumptions. And so to throw them off of that assumption, to be completely different, to react completely different has been one of my greatest growths.
Yeah.
Because I had a hard time putting my feelings on a shelf and taking constructive criticism
Mhm.
to my professional self and not to my heart.
Yeah. Well, I think that actually helps us in life too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we actually that'll help us in life. Rose, I really appreciate you taking the time. If you guys got any questions, we got some comments I was like doing throughout the live. So
Mhm.
it looks like Joshua Jefferson says IHC is also used as a confirmation test to certain diseases and metabolic conditions, normal and abnormal. Do you know exactly? Because I haven't worked with a lot of IHC. You know exactly what he may be speaking about, just like IHC in general, or
Um, I'm not sure for this particular question. The only thing that comes to mind is doing different panels for different things.
okay,
So you can do a breast panel for different breast cancers, and that would include the ER, PR, and the
PR, HER2.
HER2.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you put that on a like a grid. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And then whatever is positive, whatever is negative, those particular grids, that will tell you the best prognosis and the best type of treatment for whatever that breast cancer is. Because a lot of people hear outside of the lab hear breast cancer and they're like, oh man, I hate that thing. Well, there's
Mm-hmm.
actually about 6 or 7 common types of breast cancers, and there are much more uncommon cancers that we encounter all the time too. So that's
Right.
one of the first things I would think of. I would also think of the triple stain, the pin 4, for
Mm-hmm.
the prostate cancer as well.
Okay. Cool. And as far as like breast tissue, like how are you? You got any suggestions with cutting breast tissue? Um.
Get it as cold as possible.
Okay.
Avoid water. That is fatty
Okay.
tissue. It wants to blow up. If it is blowing up on your water bath, check your
Mm-hmm.
temperature. If you're doing a lot of if you're doing like 20 plus blocks, and they're all going to be breast tissue and it's all fatty tissue,
Mm-hmm.
you might want to bring it down to the lowest acceptable temperature that is in the protocol for your lab. So
Okay.
sometimes taking out a little bit of the hot water and dumping it and putting in
Mm-hmm.
some more DI water that's at room temperature or colder,
Okay.
bringing down that temperature to make sure that it doesn't explode. If you commonly occur with this problem, I would say looking into a specific breast fixation process would
Oh.
probably be good for your lab. I've worked with that where certain fatty tissues had a fatty protocol,
Yeah.
and this is what they did, and it was separate from like a needle biopsy or
Yeah.
liver or bone clots or something like that.
Okay. And I meant to tell you or meant to ask you as far as I know we were speaking earlier um going to the conferences and
Mhm,
things of that nature. So as far as like I know there are a couple conferences that are coming up this year. I think it's like well CSH is the California one, then they have
mhm,
the NSH, and then they have the I guess like the ASCP.
mhm.
What would okay as far as like conferences, like do you go to them or like how many have you been to as far in the, as long as many years you've been in Histotech? Do you find yourself going to them all the time? Do you attend them webinars or what's your take on going to or getting CEUs from the conferences?
I found that when I was a student and going to the webinars that were dedicated to the exams were incredibly helpful.
Right.
They were well worth the money that I was putting into there.
Right.
Just to have one day to go over this. You are going to see this question. You are going to see this. You need to focus 20% on this. And you're going to find this in the book. And if you have particular questions that you still aren't clear on, those are great questions to bring to the class.
Okay.
Um, Webinars are definitely my ticket because I can pick and choose what I want and I can watch it on my own schedule.
Mhm.
Usually, you don't have to watch it only live. They give you a window after the recording to access everything, which is
Mhm.
incredibly helpful. The conferences in general are a good place for you to network. If you want to travel, if you want to relocate, it's a good
Mhm.
place for you to talk to other people and talk about different hospitals or research systems or private labs that they may be in.
Okay.
You can talk about different areas like California, New York, and Florida that have their own private licensing. If you're not in that area, you can talk about that sort of thing. You
Yeah.
can bounce ideas off of people, which is really great. And you can kind of get the lowdown on some hospital systems that people may not be willing to freely put on the internet. So
Yeah.
that's pretty nice too. However, I would have to say a lot of my experience, mostly with conventions, is a lot of times they feel like they are commercials for particular products.
Mhm.
And they come to you with a question, hey, do you want to save this tissue? And at the end of it, you find out they're trying to sell you a cassette. Um,
They're trying to sell you a cassette or an embedded
So
station
they gave me
in
they gave
device
me 2 tips, which I already knew and going into it, and then they're trying to sell me a cassette, which doesn't even work for my printer, so
yeah, it doesn't go to your printer. They're trying to
yeah.
sell you like $130,000 machine.
Right, right, right,
Right, right.
right.
I like how you broke that down. Really, like I love how you did that. It was something for everyone. Like
Mhm,
if you're looking for travel, if you're looking just for your education, if you can't attend and you're looking for a webinar that's going to be helpful, to you if you're taking the ASCP. I like
mhm.
how you broke these things down because sometimes they can get a little overwhelming and you're just
Yes,
thinking to yourself like, well, which one do I attend? I really don't know. And then sometimes I get asked like, "Hey, are you going to the conference?" And I'm just like, "No." And they're like, "Well, why not? It's going to be." I'm just like, and sometimes you feel like you're going just for a social gathering, and it's like,
exactly.
because when I think like a little mini vacation. So if it's in Chicago and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be in Chicago, I'll go like one or two things, and after that, you really like you want to go and visit Chicago while you're there. So really, are you there for the conference or both, or is it, is everyone has something they can get out of it? But I
Right.
like how you broke that down though for each type of individual.
Mhm.
And they can get a little costly too, but I think your company sometimes, if they offer like tuition reimbursement or some type of reimbursement, then that's another resource that you can have. And also, too, a lot of students they don't really at this point understand CEUs yet. So
Mhm.
once they get to the point to where they understand CEUs, they may just be like me and just like, okay, I have until like August, and like I have like, and it's like April. I need to get some CEUs quick, and let me
Mhm.
just take the time to actually go on and get my CEUs. Now, as far as CEUs, I'm a late person. Are you an on time person for your CEUs? Is yours already done?
I have to re-up my CEUs in, like, 2 years, and I'm, like, too shy from,
You're
like
good. You're better than me. Good, because I have to do it like in this year, like in a few months, and I
Mhm.
don't know how many I have. So I need to get started. My weekends are going to be booked with CEUs.
Right.
All right, so let's see here. Ice Peach Tea says learning something new, massage because rigor.
Yeah, I've heard some pretty interesting stories of people bringing bodies into the lab, but that's a pretty good one.
That's a good one. He put they stain slides for gene expression. So maybe that's what he was talking. I'm not really sure, but for Joshua,
Yeah, that sounds like those 2 are very similar,
they're
yeah.
similar. Yeah. Let me see here. You guys, oh, and someone said also to Ice Peach Tea says, I like this guest speaker.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you so
thank
much, Ice
you.
Feasty. That's great.
Thank you. You guys, we were about to actually end the live. If you guys have any questions for Rose, it's Saturday, Rose, so they're probably like out and about. But I know they'll probably like try to hit me up later and be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
could you ask Rose this?" And I'm going to be probably reaching out to you to get some questions, some answers for you. But I really appreciate you guys joining the live. We're going to be wrapping this up for season 2, episode 1 of the Lab Girl Circle. If you guys got any questions for Rose after the live ends and you didn't get to catch the live because you are on the replay, then definitely feel free to email me at the labgirlcircle@gmail.com, or you can actually put the comment down in this live, and anything that you need to ask, then we'll go ahead and ask Rose. Hey, Kiana. What's the best way for studying for the ACP? Rose, Kiana, you made it right on time because I was about to let
Yes.
Rose enjoy her Saturday. No, it's Sunday. Oh my God, it's Sunday. Sorry,
It's
guys.
okay. It's okay.
It's work. So how
My
do you
advice, if I
tip?
was going to tell myself to study for the AACP, read the Frida Carson book.
Okay.
Anywhere from up the third edition on.
Hmm.
I personally went on to the Bancroft Theory and History of Histotechnology. That broke things down a little bit more for me. Then I went back to the BOC book about the questions and answers. And then I went to the Frida Carson Flash Histotech. And those were amazing for me. And then I just listened to recordings of things that I needed to zone in on.
Yeah. And actually, Kiana, she actually said earlier, if you were in the live earlier, what she did was whenever she read those two books, she actually recorded herself and she would listen to herself compare. I guess she would like compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Rose? I don't want
That is
to mess
correct,
it up.
yes.
Okay. She would compare the two so she can know the difference, like which book said what. And she would listen to it like, during work or whenever she was driving. And I know your test is coming up, so I did not forget. I'm going to start the study sessions again. I got you, girl. I got you. But yeah, so definitely, just use your resources. Like she said, the books, the flashcards. The flashcards personally didn't work for me.
Mm,
Because maybe because I'm not a biology person or biology major, maybe because I don't have that background. I think I was just in a point in my life to where I didn't want to have too many different resources trying to confuse me even more. So I really
mhm,
just kept it very simple and just like only used Frida and the study book. And I also did like some practice quizzes. I think I had ordered them like on ASCP,
mhm,
um, where they allow you to have it for like a certain amount of time. I think it was like maybe 90 days. I did those to help quiz me. But like I always talk about in my videos, I didn't get to the actual the quiz books until I actually like finished the chapter. So I didn't want to like try to like do both at the same time. I wanted to actually like just say read processing. And then once I was done like actually going through processing, then I actually opened the study book. And then what I would do is I would literally like go back to the beginning of processing and I would literally try to like break down each like section of processing, and then I would go into the processing book or the study book and I would try to like put the question with what I saw in the text, like sort of like put them together like that. I know it sounds confusing, but I don't know, just help me like just make sure like if I was to get just say a a fixation question, or no, just say if I was to get a special stain question. When you get a special stain question, sometimes they'll ask you the what could have fixed this, and sometimes it can be a processing issue, or sometimes it could be a fixation issue. But
mhm,
you're thinking in your mind because they showed you a picture, it's some type of special stain answer. So I had to get to the point to where like whenever I read that question, I didn't let the picture trick me to thinking like, oh, it's because the wrong counter stain was used or something like that. I was like, okay, why does this look cloudy or something like that? I want to make sure like it wasn't like a special, it wasn't because of that, maybe it's because of processing or something like that. So I think that's how I did it.
mhm.
um she says, so what if you're a kinesthetic learner? Am I pronouncing that right?
Um,
Kinesthetic.
I never say it
Yeah.
like that. I just say hands on. So I never
Okay,
say
well, tell me what if
it.
okay, Kiana, okay, could you please do layman's terms for me? What
So
if you're hands-on
so
learning and
what I
reading?
understand is if you learn hands on, if you need to do to learn, does the book really help? Um, for the book knowledge, yes, and I am a
Mhm,
hands-on learner.
me too.
So it wasn't until I was in a manual lab where I was doing everything by hand and not from an automated machine, that's when
Mhm.
I really started to piece histology together. And that's
Mhm.
where I really feel like my strength came from. And unfortunately, that happened to me after I already took the exam. However, I would recommend that whatever schooling that you're taking right now, whether it's on the job or it's in a program, to use this time now to learn.
Yeah.
Um, do the stains, do the projects. If you can't get the resources to do that, do anything and everything you can to observe a tech do it so that you can get it down. Those
Yeah.
steps are incredibly necessary for my muscle memory, and that's how I can really piece everything together.
And also too, just to piggyback off of that, I'm a hands-on person too.
Mhm,
Um, I think that's what really got me whenever I was studying for the test too, because you're in school for such a short amount of time, and
mhm,
you're only in the lab for maybe like 2 or 3 days a week, if that. So you
mhm,
only have this time, and you got all these other students who still needs to. You have to share the time to do like your H&Es and learn,
mhm,
the flow of the lab. So what I had to do is I had to separate the two. So if you're in school, like I would literally, and I'm telling you this because I didn't do this. I didn't really learn these things until I actually got into the real world. But if I had to do school over again, I would actually take that time, like she's saying, to actually like go after school if you can. Maybe schedule some time, maybe a one-on-one with the professor, or just a little bit, if there's lab hours after school for like at least an hour or two, or if you can do that, probably go in so you can be able to connect the two. So what you're reading with what you're studying with what you're doing. Because the great thing is, what I see now in the labs is, whenever there is like a hire from within, they have that extra. And I'm so like, I always tell them every time, like, you're lucky to have this. If you are promoted from within, just say you're a lab tech and you're going to a histotech, you have that grace period to where you literally are seeing us do embedding. You're seeing us cut. You in that environment. Whenever I was in
mhm,
school, I was not in the environment, so it was kind of hard to piece the two together. When you go to clinicals, that's a perfect time too, for, like she said, for you to sit with a histotech, if you can stay after, whatever that you can possibly do to say, hey, like, can I just sit and watch you? My hours are over, but if I have 30 extra minutes, can I just sit and and watch you? Or if you work on Saturday, can I come and just watch? Because these are the things to where you can have the two to connect together. And another thing too is, right now though, if you can't do those things, just focus really on the book, because
mhm.
the book is the first step for you even to get there. So focus on the book and the understanding of the book, and then, like she's saying, if you got time, then make sure that you're taking the extra step to do that. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I said kinesthetic. Okay. I know her by the way, Rose. So don't think I'm being mean to her.
Oh, no, no.
Okay. So she says, done with school and working in cytology now. My test is in June. Working in cytology, I don't get to see histology because it's a different department. How can she? I remember her telling me this. Like, I was like, can you talk to maybe the histology supervisor or something and see exactly, like, let them know in the future you would love to. I don't know. I'm a sales. I got the sales in me. Okay, I don't know where that comes from, but it's
Yeah.
like, sometimes you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to just like literally like just say, go up to, can you schedule a meeting with them and say, look, like, I'm currently or I'm done with school. I'm a histology student. I'm about to take my test. I know you guys may not be hiring right now, but I would love to stay with the company and work here in the future. It will literally be like you are just saying, look, keep me in mind. Like, get your foot in the door, just so they can keep you on their radar and say, hey, if there's any way I can maybe come and even shadow someone in here, they may be open to that. But if not, then I wouldn't wait around too much longer. After you pass your test, and it would just be time for you to probably go look for a histology job. But I would definitely say, at this moment right now, let them know who you are, introduce yourself, and say, hey, can I ever come and shadow or sit with someone? I want, I just want to take the time just to soak everything in. And because I'm going to be doing this one day, and I would love, just you literally have to sell yourself. What you think, Rose?
I would definitely say that's the way to do it. You want to sell yourself. Approaching
Mm-hmm.
the supervisor and selling yourself, telling them that you might have interest in the company.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a great way to make sure that you can get some things learning. If you're in cytology, sometimes there is a crossover for delivering slides, picking up slides,
Mm-hmm.
marrying different things for a case, trying to get recs for something, trying to get a follow up on IHC.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen cytotechs want to be histotechs coming into different areas and striking up professional conversations and asking things without distracting from the work, and that
Right.
has helped them greatly. Histotechs will see them, go, "Oh, hey, what are you doing? What's this?" "Well, oh, hey, I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
this, that, and the other." Most times, histotechs don't get to show off our skills. We don't get to show off what we do. We kind of feel
Mm-hmm.
like we're lab rats, so we like showing off every now and then.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I agree with her. Just if you can come over, like she said, you need to deliver something. If you need, just make it known,
Mm-hmm,
who you are. Don't be afraid to, say, hey, my name is, Kiana.
mm-hmm,
I work in cytology. I've seen what you guys do, and I'm in school too, or I graduated. Because you never know what they're like. Oh, when it come to interview time, they'll remember that face, they'll remember that interaction, that
mm-hmm,
they've had with you. And also too, you're still working hard in your own department as
mm-hmm.
well. So, they'll contact your supervisor over there and see what type of worker you are there. So all those, that plays a big role in just being efficient still in your department now and showing up every day, even though you have histology on your mind and that's your future goal, because there's nothing wrong with that. But just make yourself known in the histology department. And like she says, you don't even have to like interrupt the workflow. It's just someone would, they may let you shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ice Peach Tea says, go anyway, like go over there and make yourself known. She said, I'll try it again. Definitely try it again. Thank you, ladies. You're welcome.
You are so welcome. I wish you the best in histology.
I wish you the best too. And I will once again get started on the study sessions. Rose, I really appreciate you spending your time with us this Sunday. I really appreciate you starting the season premiere of the Lab Girl Circle off with a bang. You have provided us with so much knowledge, and I really just appreciate you just coming through and just showing face and just letting us know, your journey, your story. And if you ever want to be back on the show again, I'm here. Maybe one day we can do like a panel talk and, like a topic of discussion. And I would love to have you back.
Well, that sounds great. And let me just take this moment to say thank you for adding so much to histology.
Thank you.
You're really just helping people gain knowledge so that we can spread this wonderful journey together and help patients. And it is amazing to see you making such great progress with this. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really gotta go, guys, and I hope you guys have a great Sunday. And look, I will be announcing another episode with the Lab Girl Circle. Rose, you have been great.
Thank
And if
you.
you guys have any questions for Rose after this and you're on the replay, Rose, you're getting kudos. She says she's the bomb. Um,
Well, thank you.
.com, right, Kiana? If you guys got any questions for Rose and you didn't get to make the live today, I really, really understand. So just give us, you can actually DM me. You can drop a comment. I'll definitely let Rose know. I'll hit her up and I can get back to you guys. And this will not be hopefully the last time she's on my channel. So thank you guys for watching me and watching the show. And it's good to be back. So I will see you guys in my future videos. Bye, Rose.
Bye.
Bye.